John, thank you for joining us this afternoon. For those watching at home or at a later date, this is John Hambrick. He is the incumbent in State Assembly District 2. John, you've interviewed with us before, so you've been through our endorsement process, so I will not go through the same spiel introducing the Asian American group to you. I'd much rather allow you an opportunity to introduce yourself to anyone who hasn't seen any of your prior interviews with us. First question we're asking everyone is this: why have you decided to run for this particular race at this particular time?
Well, I am privileged to represent Assembly District 2, not only as the current Assemblyman, but I'm also the current Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, which is an awesome responsibility. Not only do I have my constituents in my Assembly District, but the entire state is my constituency. But I believe I have some unfinished business, and as I have spoken before, and from my very first time in the 2009 election, one of my passions is fighting human trafficking, and it's a severe problem in Las Vegas, as it is in many of the large urban areas across the country. But on any given night, we could have a couple hundred children on the streets. It just rips my heart out. And I think anyone that people of faith in Scripture has it that if you see a problem such as this and you do nothing about it, there will be consequences. Either before the Almighty or by those who we shunned aside, and they're going to ask us at some point, you knew our problem, you did nothing about it. We're going to have to answer in the most difficult way. So I will keep on going. There's obviously other issues. We're looking at a potential NFL team, and that may come before the legislature. They're still negotiating. The governor may or may not call a special session in the next few weeks for the legislature to decide that one way or the other. And we have the Commerce tax that we passed last time, and people are extremely concerned about that, and primarily through a lack of knowledge how it works, and it's not as severe because it went for education. We were able to pass with a very large majority the ESA, Education Savings Account. Senator Scott Hammond's SB 302. And it has received high acclaim around the country about a shot in the arm for education in this country, which would allow a parent to judge a school and take a child out of a failing school and put a child in a successful school and take much of the money, not all of the money, but much of the money through the DSA, the student school account, and transfer that with the student to the school and not a religious school. Those that are against this bill or against the concept are saying this money can go to religious schools. It cannot. It's against our state constitution. It can go to other public education, but it cannot go to a religious school. It just can't happen. And so I hope I'm not stepping a hole, but I'm having fun. It's something, when you see something work and the benefit, and regardless of what faith-based committee you attend, I was in Reno for a week, and my wife and I flew back yesterday, and there are 2 young people on the plane that live in the area, and they recognized me and came up and thanked me. And when you sit down, my wife and I looked at each other, it feels good for people to understand that they know that we're working for them and they appreciate the effort. We hear a lot of negatives, but it's also nice to hear a positive once in a while, especially when out of the blue like that. So I want to continue that. I'm in my 4th term, and should the voters return me, I will be my 5th, and I can only do 6 terms in the Assembly. I had a difficult primary, but I came through that 40% to 20%. And now I've got a Democrat opponent, and so there is a race. There's another candidate. We'll just have to wait and see. I know I've done good things for my district, which basically is all of Summerlin, and I will continue to do that. As I tell a lot of people, I work for them. I'm retired. I don't need the job. I'm doing it because I believe I know I'm doing something good for my constituency and for the people in Nevada.
John, one of the things that you had mentioned in your intro was the NFL stadium and the prospects of a special session. Obviously, it's week 1 of the NFL. The Raiders came back and beat the Saints just a few minutes ago in a 2-point conversion with 47 seconds left, which made me happy. That having been said, there's been a lot of criticism around the country for public money being used to fund or assist with the construction of NFL stadiums when NFL teams are worth, well, the NFL itself is worth billions and billions of dollars, and the owners are making a healthy amount of money, as are the players as well. What are your general feelings regarding having public funds go towards a project like an NFL stadium here in Southern Nevada?
Well, I grew up in both in my grade school, high school, and college career, University of Minnesota. I mean, the Vikings, yeah, go Vikes, but my wife and I then moved to the Washington D.C. area, the Redskins, and they built a stadium in Maryland, the Royal John Stadium, and it's not unusual to have public funding. Look at Green Bay. The city of Green Bay has huge financial interest in that team. I would, before I condemn anything, we need to be fiscally conservative on this. I do not want to spend the public's money in a very foolish way. I want to see it in writing. Right now, we're hearing speculation. Everybody's talking what they want to do. The governor will be addressing this. They're having a committee meeting later on this week. Now it's a new week, and the NFL has to still give its clear blessing. They haven't, and that'll be always the way. But let's see it in writing. Let's see the nitty gritty. The devil's is in the details, and I want to see the details. Should there be a special session, I'm sure it will be debated. There are those who have come out in favor, and I'm one of those. Those who have come out adamantly opposed to it. Well, then we're going to have to sit down and discuss this in the legislature where there's clear discussion and everyone will have an opportunity to have their say. And then there will be a vote. And it's all decided when this happens, before or after the election.
And I'm sorry, John, you said there are those who are in favor, and you indicated you were one of those. Is that in favor of a special session or in favor of the public funds?
I'm in favor of the team in understanding that this is a necessity. But again, I want to see that I'm in favor for the people to decide through their representatives in the state legislature. If the governor will call and the legislature, whether it's a 1 or 2 or 3 day special session, remains to be seen. But we will hash it out because we represent those individuals that have voted for us. We'll go up and we'll just find out. And I'm sure the committee, the governor's committee this week, Steve Hill and all the local political leaders are involved with us, and they're going to let their thoughts known, and we all have to take that into consideration. But I believe the governor will call a special session. When I do, I'm not going to put a date on that because I'm not going to preempt the governor.
And that the issue of the NFL team hadn't come up as of yet. We wanted to know. I personally just wanted to know your thoughts as the speaker. I figured you would have, you'd be up higher on the phone tree than the rest of us. Let's put it that way.
Not always.
Well, we'd like to think so. But thank you for that insight. This has been a rather interesting political cycle, more on a national level with respect to Trump and Sanders kind of invigorating many people who thought they were either unrepresented or underrepresented. And a lot of people who weren't participating in the political process have come out of the woodwork, so to speak. What ideas do you have to try and keep those individuals who were essentially apolitical, who felt disenfranchised? How do you plan on trying to keep them within the pool of active political participants and allow them a greater voice to make determinations that affect not only them, but their fellow Nevadans?
If I may, I'm going to use some analogies here going back a number of years. I was involved with Little League Baseball for 32 years. And not only on the East Coast, the West Coast, but also here in Las Vegas. And people, when I'd go to the games, people would come up and always complain about what's happening. And if you want to see anything of political, you could go to a sports team, whether it's hockey, soccer, or baseball, and they'd always want, parents would be upset about something, and I would challenge them. Well, if you don't like it, fine, but then get involved. If someone doesn't care for one party or the other on how they're going forward, well, then they should get involved. And I really try to be polite and open-minded to everybody I speak with, but there is a group of people that I occasionally make it sure to, they never vote, but they're amongst the biggest complainers. The price of freedom has been heavy for this country. And our veterans, particularly today, that we, on 9/11, the firefighters, the police officers, and the citizens that went down in the towers, there was a huge price, and that price was to get out and vote. If you don't participate, I firmly believe you do not have a solid footing on complaining. You need to, your price of freedom is to going to the ballot box. And if you do not do that, keep your mouth shut. It may be harsh, but again, it's a sensitive issue to me. But that is the price of freedom for normal civilians is going out and vote, regardless of school board or the President of the United States and everything in between.
What ideas do you have, though, to try and keep those people who, there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there these days, people who are on Facebook and everyone's quick to criticize everyone else. But what plans, if any, do you have to try and keep those people who have come out of the woodwork, to try and have them continue to be active participants as opposed to just fading away in the sunset and either A, not complaining without voting, or B, just not being heard from again, neither of which are all that desirable?
My wife and I, when we are walking door to door, I mean, that's a very limited thing, and I have challenged, I'm involved in a faith-based community, and I have talked to our religious leaders frequently. I happen to be Catholic, and I have talked to Bishop Pepe and Bishop Calvo from Reno, and Bishop Dan Edwards, the Episcopal Bishop of Nevada. I have talked to the senior rabbi in the area, and as an individual, my wife and I, on a day-to-day, could maybe talk to 25 to 40 people. But faith-based people can talk to hundreds or thousands every weekend. And they will not get involved with partisan politics, but I urge them to get involved with issue politics, whether it's education, and any other of the faith-based areas that they feel they can get involved with. We need the community, and I believe that's just one way of doing it. And Mr. Slovani and I we're old enough to remember watching TV and seeing Dr. Martin Luther King, Ralph Abernathy, and the entire, on the civil rights area, the people leading the front lines were the religious people. You saw Dr. Martin Luther King, and you go left and right. I still remember seeing that on the team. The faith-based community was leading those marches down Selma and Montgomery. And I believe the faith-based community now needs to continue to push to have their congregation to stay involved. No one person can get to all, but there are a large group that can get to several. And again, the faith-based community is among those. And I think that is the best way. Politicians go door to door, but they will do 25, 50, maybe 100 in a day if they're very eager. But on Saturdays or Sundays, when you're in your house of worship, that's where you can contact and be issue-based.
You had referenced civil liberties. One of the newer areas where civil liberties are being brought up and discussed involves many of the so-called bathroom bills in North Carolina, in Indiana, in Georgia. There was, you dealt with it in the legislature. I honestly don't recall if it was the Assembly or the Senate, but a similar issue arose during the last term. What metrics do you use when you have to balance out a person's constitutional rights on both sides of that somewhat attenuated issue?
That is probably singularly the most difficult issue to address there, because that one, no matter how you address it, you can have a huge population that will disagree with you, regardless of what side. I believe, I'm not a real fan of same-sex marriage, but right now it's black letter law. So it's out there, it's going to happen. But when it comes down to the bathroom issue, personally, I have some difficulty understanding where a fourth grader, should go into different bathrooms. And other than their gender. A young man going into the girls, a young woman going to the boys. Constitutionally, the law's there, but I think the school district and the parents of the school district should get involved and determine how far they're gonna push this. The constitutionality of it now is pretty much set, but then the Supreme Court on several issues in the past 25 years have said a lot of these issues are community-based norms. And I think this is one of those issues. The norms, I believe the cultural norm in Las Vegas or in Atlanta or Chicago compared to cultural norm in Battle Mountain or Des Moines could be different. And so we need to understand that and let the community decide. But at some point when you get into high school and a young man or woman feels that they need, and I use that term very cautiously, not want, need to identify with another gender, well then we have to address that issue and not throw sticks and stones at a young man or a woman. Because again, when I say need, it's a psychological need that they have to address this issue.
And I'm sorry, I've been asking all the questions. I know other people have questions, and we pulled our notes from our earlier, when we interviewed you at the primary, and we didn't want to ask you those same questions again, because we already know your answers there. We don't think they've changed.
Most likely they have not.
Mike, did you want to jump in, or Dennis, anyone?
Well, I'll jump in real quick. In regards to, bringing the NFL could potentially bring more revenue into Nevada, but also understanding companies like Tesla and Faraday coming to Nevada, Southern Nevada, and it also has the same potential. What are your specific ideas to have and lure more similar or help the small business or what have you to generate more folks to come into Nevada and help our communities?
Well, there are more as we speak, and many we can't talk too publicly about some because there's still negotiation. But this governor, Governor Brian Sandoval, who I'm a strong supporter of, and Steve Hill, his Director of Economic Development, they are talking to companies almost on a daily basis because what we have done for Tesla and have done for Faraday Future, and we are having now business coming in from not only around the country, but around the world. The FAA has now given approval for Nevada, for the Las Vegas area, to do drone research. That was a huge research bonus. Will it have great effects, when you start talking some of these big issues? May not, but it will affect the aviation and research area for years to come, in down near the Searchlight area, the desert area. So we are working, the political leaders, Governor Sandoval, Steve Hill, the Lieutenant Governor, and leaders of both parties are looking at and listening to these things, and I think there's some really good stuff coming. Really, I think everybody will be pleased about what's happening. Because of the act of our governor and what we're doing, more industry wants to come and take advantage of that. Both of our tax structure, our education structure now is, many years ago, and Michael, people would not come here because they said the education is so poor. Well, we're switching that around. Look at our graduation rates. Look what's happening now with charter schools and their resurgence. So education is, I think now is a bright star, and more people are coming into the state. And I think overall in the next 2 or 3 years, there will be a lot of businessmen and women coming into this community, which will help schools, restaurants, people that buy shoes, the whole litany of things, the ripple effect. It'll be a good thing.
You had referenced, and I'm sorry, I don't know if you had a direct follow-up.
Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes. You had referenced education being a bright star, I think was the term you had used. In fairness, and we very well may be moving in the right direction, in fairness, we do have a great distance to travel. Many metrics have us rated hovering around 47-ish in the nation. And while charter schools are certainly a different avenue and very well may help certain pockets of our population, overall our graduation rates are abysmal, for lack of a better term. Short term, what ideas do you have to try and continue making more progress? Because we can all admit more progress is required. But more short-term progress, how do we plan on keeping what momentum that we do have and move in that right direction as quickly as we can?
Okay, first thing, I think we're gonna have to agree on the definition of what progress is. And again, I'll go into an analogy. If a teacher, if their average schools or classroom scores on in a given topic, and I'll make up a number, is 47. But the following term, these youngsters, as they go from second to third to fourth, and the principals the principals in this county are amazing. But if a teacher can bring up, or those classes, even 1 point, doesn't sound like much. So yeah, we're the fourth, but how many 10, 12, 15 years ago, when I first started, we were down quite a bit, we were lower. And I think we're a little higher than 47. That's down in Mississippi. And anyone from Old Miss or the great state of Mississippi listening to this, I apologize, but yeah, their education, I think we're a little higher now. I thought we were in the upper 40s or lower 30s, I hope. But we will not make that jump overnight, because our students have to be tested, they have to learn, whether you believe in school choice or the new curriculum-based change that they're claiming. And I'm not a fan of some of the new education systems, because I still like the old R's, the old way of doing things. You know, I can divide the long way, put the cursor and go down. That's still easy for me. But to use some of the new systems, they have showed that to me 3 or 4 times. I still do not understand it. Where they draw a square and put numbers here, numbers there. But I think if we can connect with our children's brain, and in private industry, and Mike will appreciate this, in private industry, there's cost centers, but we hope that at some point we have a profit. Well, in education, there are all kinds of cost centers. And I believe I said this once in our last interview. The only profit center education has is graduates. Everything below graduation is a cost center. Teachers' education, schools, new equipment, all cost centers. But when a young man or woman walks across that stage, whether it's an 8th grade diploma, a high school diploma, or a college diploma, whether it's be at UNLV, UNR, or some IT in school in Massachusetts or Chicago. But that's where the profit is. And when we can prepare our students, and whether it's they're in electrical engineering or cosmetology, but if they get the license and go across, or plumbing, they get the certificates and walk out and can say, I got it, I can get a job. And that's our profit centers.
Mike, did you want to talk about India? Mike has asked this question previously, and I won't put him on the spot and force him to do it. But one thing, you had referenced new corporations coming to Nevada. The state of South Carolina, about 5 years ago, had approximately $50 million in revenue generated from businesses that were based out of India. And Nikki Haley, evidently, is one of her many initiatives. She made it a point to reach out to other Indian businesses and corporations. And through her efforts, she's been able to increase the amount of investment in her state from $50 million 5 years ago to over a projected $500 million for 2016. Mike, I'll embarrass him. Mike has been doing his darndest to try and encourage a delegation from Nevada to go to India, to use business contacts that people have cultivated over the years, to try and have a similar growth or similar influx of investment into Nevada, which would benefit all of us, obviously. And he's hit some roadblocks along the way. Assuming you are reelected, might you be able to? We realize you can't wave a magic wand and make it happen. Would you be able to sit down, or willing to sit down and speak with Mike and see what we can do to, try and reach out and perhaps hit one of those untapped profit centers, such as foreign investment, here in Nevada?
It's a long question, but the short answer is yes.
Kind of a softball.
It was.
Usually Mike asks it in a much more eloquent way.
I see, because I know the governor
There you go.
when he was nobody.
I got him mad.
When he ran for the Attorney General, first time, it was my house announced. I got a picture of Bill, Brian, and David. So, Bill Young, Dave Rogers, and there are three pictures. They were my three brothers. This is about 20 years ago. And we've been friends all the time, but since he became governor, it's just something different. It's changed completely. When he became Attorney General, I've been with him all along. And the other guy who's in charge, Steve, I tell you, India is a big market. You look at this Silicon Valley, California, North California, all the high-tech companies are all Indians, majority of them. The CEO of all the big companies is all Indians. India is open now, it's very big, bigger than China now. You guys want, but I talked to the, Lieutenant Governor, one before. He just called me today. He said, what is happening? Why don't we go? You want to go to China? It's fine. But China is already good. Europe, but India is a big market. There's Nikki Haley from South Carolina can go 50 to 500 million. I have documented in newspapers. Everything what I say is documented by me in newspapers. Nobody was interested. So I just gave up. I said, what? If they're not interested, okay. Because I have few friends. The largest bank in India is my friend. The governor, one of the top governors is my friend. Right? The largest hotel chain is my friend. Your friend. This is what are you guys doing? I said, I can't do it. So I said, hey, forget it. Not interested, okay with me. Yeah, because I've come to a point that in the politics for the last 40 years, I'm just going to quit. I've been doing it for 20, 25 years now. So it's not my loss. It's a loss for the state and the people.
Mike, don't quit, please. The governor just came back very recently from a trip to Australia, but for mining, and what they're doing in mining and mining technology. My wife and I flew back yesterday from Reno, and they're in South Tahoe. The Nevada Mining Association had a conference all week. And my wife and I attended and listened to their conferences and their technology and what they're in mine safety was their big push. And the governor's very active. And my simplistic but very sincere answer to the question a few moments ago, I would be more than happy to sit down with you or any other representatives should the voters allow me to go back in my office, and it has always been open. And there are other countries that I have traveled to, Azerbaijan. I've gone there twice, primarily because of trafficking issues. And they asked me, and that's, if you have seen the movie Taken, 1, 2, and 3, well, because of the location of Azerbaijan, the trail of human trafficking in Eastern Europe sort of starts there and goes up through Turkey and then goes across. And so they have made marvelous headways. And now they're doing other issues, and they're hopefully not, my wife and I would come back because of my wife's health challenges in the past few years. They wanted to have her talk to the women of the country, saying, hey, there is hope. My wife is a breast cancer survivor and a Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor, and they want her to come and talk to the women. And Nancy has done that in the smaller groups. But in the other area, Mike, if the governor can go to Australia, and we should be able to do something. But although when you say India, Australia's on one side. If I teased momently from a few moments compared to China, and we'd have to maybe divide that up into maybe 3 or 4 cities. And I believe the governor did go on a tour of China a year and a half or 2 years ago, because there's an inside joke that they were having a meeting with one of the state governors, or I forgot all the Chinese provinces, what their title, whether it's premier or governor, but they went in office, and there was John Lee, mayor of Las Vegas, mayor of North Las Vegas, and nobody knew he was there, but he was trying to get them to come and build plants in North Las Vegas. So they have made some inroads. If you believe they have not been strong enough, well, I'd be more than happy, as I said earlier, sit down and try to re-emphasize that and find out. You can get a briefing from Mr. Hill.
I know, Mr. Steve, when you got appointed.
Yeah.
See, like China is not the issue. We had a delegation come from China, my friend, Ronnie Chang, he's got a big business here. We had a delegation come about 3 months ago from China, and we visited the city of Las Vegas, Henderson, not Las Vegas. And they want to invest a couple $100 million, not 1 million, 300 to 500 million. And all the cities were very happy. From the county, Steve, they were not interested in meeting. And they're coming back next month to confirm the investment in Henderson. Henderson has been awesome in supporting and helping us. North Las Vegas, not much. City, not much, because Ricky Bala goes to China all the time. John Lee just went to China, and Henderson here, they said, open up, because he said, okay. So all these Chinese are coming sometime November, about 100 of them, to really make the decision to start investing. They have a couple $100 million, and we got nobody listening to us. So we said, okay, we'll go out on our own. And we know people, in the city, the county, I know all of them because I've been doing politics for 22 years. So I talked to the mayor, I talked to all the city council, Mike, we want to work with you. Henderson has been awesome, willing to work, and they're gonna get a lot of money, investments coming. Sad that, we cannot get the state people to work with us who have connections in China and India. They just didn't bother, they ignore it. That's a sad thing, and especially knowing people who are our friends for years, and all of a sudden, we don't get nothing. So that hurts,
Mike, as I said,
I'll work with you, I have no problem with
no,
that.
should the voters return me, absolutely, I will give you my word, we will sit down and work with you.
Thank you.
Well, we are pretty much at our time limit. John, always a pleasure talking to you. It's been the second time this year, but we appreciate you coming back. Why don't you finish us up, 30 seconds, why are you the better candidate to retain your seat in Assembly District 2?
Well, as I said, I'm in my middle of my 4th term, going for my 5th, and I know I've done well for my constituents. And for those of you that are watching either now or will be, hopefully you're sitting down, because I work for you. I have no special interest, whether it's a legal interest or anything else. I am not an attorney, I'm a retired cop, basically. A little more fancy than that, but retired federal agent. But I'm here for my constituents. And I will continue doing it for my constituents. My name is in the telephone book. I'm very, very accessible, and should any listener, whether it's now or later on the internet, if there is a situation you think I might be able to assist in, or at least you want to have some way, shape, or form to vent, give me a call. That's right here. And that should be true for any legislator, whether it's in the state senate or the state assembly, or the city council or the county commission. We are here to serve you, not the other way around. And again, I'm privileged and honored that you've given me the time. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Before you go, could we take a photo?